My mum was in her mid-60s when she died after a hideous battle with cancer. I was 31. And I remember during those 8 years, I would go and see her, and we'd talk about all the places she wanted to go, all the things she wanted to do, the things she wanted to see. But I think we both knew that probably wasn't going to happen. Time was running out. And I remember one Christmas when I went up there, it was Christmas Eve. And on top of everything, on top of the cancer, the double mastectomy, 2 months before, she just had a triple heart bypass. And she's at home, and it was one of those picture postcard Christmas Eves. It had been snowing like the clappers. It really was deep and crisp and even. It was freezing cold outside and the moon was up. And she said, I want to go to the pub for a drink. I said, you sure? Sure that's a good idea? And she said, what else can they do to me? Good point. So off we went. And I think she had probably 1 or 2 whiskies too many, if you can. And we're on our way back to the house, and we're nearly there. And it's nearly midnight. It's pitch black. And she spots this little garden fence about 1 foot high. And on the other side of it, somebody's lawn with all this snow on it, perfect, crisp. She jumps over the fence, throws herself on her back, and starts doing snow angels. What are you doing? She said, I'm practicing for my next act. She had a sense of humor, my mum. She also died on her birthday. She was so tenacious that she hung on for another 24 hours to say that she'd had 1 more year of life. Just incredible. Before she died, I remember spending time with her in the hospital. She said to me, go and do the things that I couldn't do. Go and do the things you want to do, because what they don't tell you is that when this happens, your time's up. And I thought, right up, and I promised her there and then that I would do that. After that, I held her hand, she slipped away. They don't tell you this stuff. They don't tell you that that's what might happen. It's not in the playbook of life. You stay in your lane, you do your thing. She was mid-60s. So after the funeral, I flew back to my mundane job, and I thought, I'm going to honor that promise. I'm going to work my backside off, build the money up, and then I'm going to jack it in and go traveling. I lasted 6 months, and I said, I'm not doing this. Because the word she said resonated again and again and again. You haven't got the time. And I thought, no. So I started my own business. I threw in the day job, and I did what I said I would do. I did what she wanted me to do. I'm traveling. I lived in Australia. I lived in Scotland. I lived in France. I lived in Jersey. And it got me thinking about things, how time compresses as you get over 50. Now, people say it's a cliche. The older you get, the less time you have. Obviously, that's a given. But what I didn't realize from when I was 31 to 40, time was all right. It seemed to go fairly slowly, and I was enjoying the things I was doing. 40 to 50 was a different matter. That went a lot quicker. And it got me thinking about things. So when I met Jules, and we decided that we'd had enough of the whole thing, of living for society, doing what we're told, Jules knocking her pan in her job. When the doctor gave her the warning, said, if nothing changes, you're going to have a stroke or a heart attack. She was the same age as my mum when she was diagnosed. I thought, nah, I'm not having that. I'm not losing another one. So that's what we did. We packed everything up and we moved down to Spain. When we got here, it was fantastic. It was November. I was 50, and we landed and we put ourselves into an apartment, and we said, we'll work the rest out from here. Within a month of being there, something happened to me. I started to get pains in my hips and my knees. We'd been paddleboarding every day. We had a new lease of life, and I just put it down to doing too much that we weren't normally doing. And it got to a point where I could hardly get out of bed in the morning. And I couldn't even walk 250 meters down the jetty and back. Jules had to help me. And I thought, have I got all this way to lose my mobility at 50? And it scared the bejesus out of me. We went to the doctors. They said, I don't know what it is. I think picked up a virus or something, but it took me 3 months to get my full mobility back. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening. We've made it, and now this. And it always went back to what my mum said. So where we lived was fine. It wasn't a bad place. But it was the sort of place you go to in Spain where you'll never leave again. In fact, one of our friends said to me, I'm buying a house here because it's where I'm going to be to die. I said, what? Couldn't even process that. He said, yeah, I want to die here. And I thought, I don't want to die anywhere. I know we're going to have to. But it was also the place where people competed with each other. Who's got the biggest watch? Who's got the fastest car? Who's got the most money? And Jules and I, the only thing we were competing against was the clock. And I said, I don't think this place suits us anymore. We'd been there 4 years. I said, we know this thing called life. We know the time's running down. We need more adventure. We didn't come here to Spain for this. We need to go out there and explore some more. So that's what we did. We moved up the coast here. And it's amazing. We've got all the adventure we want. We've got the train. We can go to Seville. We can go to Cadiz, which is just over there. I surf nearly every day. We can go on our e-bikes for miles and miles. And again, it's like a new lease of life because we know time's running out. And really what it comes down to is nobody tells you this stuff. Nobody tells you that when you get to 50, time compresses. 1 year feels like 6 months. You're 50, then you're 55, then you're 60, then you're 70. And then you start thinking, I can't do the things that I wanted to do. That's why we're doing them now. You know, I surf every day. I know that as I get older, the surfboard's going to get longer and the waves are going to have to be smaller. So what I'm doing now is I'm getting out there every day and surfing whatever I can, often more than my ability. But that's what it's all about. So the things they don't tell you are that your time compresses. And what did my mum say to me? They don't tell you this is going to happen. There's no playbook. And they don't tell you to go out there and do your thing. I'm telling you this because we're doing it. My alternative was to stay in the day job for the rest of my life and then get to 70 and try and do the things we're doing now. It didn't work for us. But all I'm trying to do is say to you is listen, because they don't tell you this stuff. They don't tell you how fast time runs out. They don't tell you that one day you're going to be holding someone's hand in the hospital when they die. It's not written down. So all we can do is say, this is what we've done, this is why, and you can decide you've got one life, what you're going to do with it. And it's not morbid, it's a celebration. You know, my mum would have loved it here. She loved the beach like me, but there you go. I said to her once when I visited her, I said, you know what, Mum, when I've got the money, I'm going to buy you a little place by the sea. She loved that. By the time I got the money, it was too late. She'd gone. So we wait and we wait and we wait. What are we waiting for? When we get to 50, we have to make changes now, or else we're just going to watch the clock run down and it's going to get us nowhere. Anyway, guys, thought for the day. We have one life. It's up to us what we do with it.